What's up guys, Asian here again with another build guide video. This one is going to be for my Magicka Sorcerer. This is a non-pet build, so on certain endgame content you won't be able to use your pet due to the mechanics of the fight. And so in those fights you're going to want to use a non-pet build. So this is the build that I use when I have to use those fights. So again, we're going to be going over stats, going to be going over CP points, going to be going over gear and ability bars, as well as a sample rotation parse. Lambris here, one medium, one heavy for that Undaunted passive again. Netch's Touch, all divines, all with Magicka enchants. You get Netch's Touch from farming Darkshade Caverns. Since you're only going for the armor pieces, you can get away with doing it Darkshade Caverns 1 on normal, which is a pretty quick and easy dungeon to burn through. I have infused pants. You can use infused or divines on your large pieces. I like having one infused just for the extra magicka. The DPS difference is minimal. It's probably 0.5% at most. Blue Moon Dancer jewelry because Gold Moon Dancer is way too difficult to get. I have a random lightning staff sharpened with a weapon damage enchant. The best in slot you would use for this build would be a Moon Dancer lightning staff, also sharpened with the weapon damage enchant, but those staves are incredibly rare and difficult to find, so this is what we have to work with. And then Maelstrom lightning staff sharpened, again best in slot. This is all best in slot gear, particularly the weapons, so do keep that in mind when you're doing your own parses. Stats, 64 points into magicka. Don't need to put any points into health. You can see here I'm still hitting that 17k health, even without the pet health boost. So you don't really need to have any points into health to hit that 17k cap minimum for vet trials on endgame content. Ability bars, first bar, Shock Clench, Destructive Clench. Crushing Shock, you can use Force Pulse. DPS difference is going to be minimal, but Crushing Shock is more useful since it allows you to interrupt enemies that are casting. Bound Aegis, this is going to be double slotted. Haunting Curse, Inner Light, and then I have the Destro Staff ulti, Thunderous Rage. So the reason why I'm not using Shooting Star is because of the Destro Staff passive Ancient Knowledge. I won't be getting a boost from this passive since I'm not having since I don't have a Flame Staff. I will have the Lightning Staff increase instead, so the Destro ulti is going to do more damage than the Shooting Star will. Back bar, the VMA bar, Mage's Wrath, Maxecute, Liquid Lightning, Aegis double barred, Elemental Blockade, and a shield. For this parse I'm going to be using Elemental Drain instead of shield, since I don't really need a shield during a DPS parse. CP points, exact same CPs as a pet build, 75 in Arcanus, 75 in Tenacity. Really there's no point in putting going up to 100 because you're basically putting 25 points for a 1% increase. It's not really worth it. You can put those points into more useful passives instead. 7 Mooncalf, 4 unhealthy, might move those out. 29 into Warlord for Break Free. Breaking free is very important in trials. You'll be doing it a lot in endgame content. And as a magicka toon, you have limited stamina pool, so you're going to want to reduce the cost of break free as much as you can. Along the same lines, dodge rolling, reducing the cost of that is always useful. And you can always put points into Shadow Ward as well to reduce the cost of block, because there will be occasions where you're going to be block casting, so you're just going to want to reduce that, so you're going to reduce the amount of stamina you lose while block casting. For your mages CP points, 34 into Elfborn, 56 into Elemental Expert, 19 into Staff Expert, 26 into Mastered Arms. I do have heavy attack builds, which is why I have some points into Staff Expert, a little bit more than you would anticipate. Otherwise, those points would probably be in Mastered Arms instead. 75 into Thaumaturge for that Exploiter passive. There is some debate whether Exploiter is a need to have passive in the endgame content. A lot of hearsay that I've been hearing is that you don't need it, it's better to put the points into Master-at-Arms, but I have to do some more testing, and part of me thinks it also depends on your group composition as well, whether you can get that 100% off-balance uptime. For your warrior CP points, make sure to put your points in the Hardy Elemental Defender first to get the full damage mitigation. There's a bug or glitch or something where you won't get the full mitigation if you're not putting it into these two first. 14 into Thick Skin to reduce damage from dots. There aren't a lot of dots in the endgame content, but those that are there tend to be pretty damaging, so putting points into Thick Skin is not a bad idea to do so. 37 into Ironclad, reducing damage from direct damage. Direct damage is basically any attack that deals all of its damage in one blow, not over time. This basically reduces damage from essentially about 95% of the attacks that enemies do in the game. You can want points into Bastion as well as a Magicka tune that increases your damage shield, just increases your survivability overall. For this parse, I will not be using spell power potions. In a trial scenario, I would be using spell power potions, so I would be having major sorcery, so do keep that in mind when we go over numbers at the end. I'm not having any major sorcery uptime at all. Instead, I'll be using just regular trash pots you get from adventuring to kind of simulate a little bit of the magical regen I'd be actually getting from potions without breaking the bank. Need to charge up my ultimate. Don't be afraid to start a parse with ultimate, that's perfectly fine. It's perfectly normal for trials to go into the final boss with ultimate charged up, so you can get a quick burst of damage from the very beginning. So don't be afraid to use your ultimate at the beginning of a parse. It's a perfectly realistic scenario in endgame content. For a solo parse, you're normally only going to have Ellie Drain, that's self-applied. If you're doing a parse with the healer, they can apply Elemental Drain and throw you orbs or shards for resource regen, that's perfectly realistic. The only thing I would say is don't have them use Combat Prayer because you'll be getting a 100% uptime, which is not a realistic scenario. Same thing with the Warhorn or any other sort of buffs like Powerful Light or Alkosh or Crusher. Those just aren't realistic to have 100% uptime. Even Lightning Wall, I wouldn't use Lightning Wall on parses unless you're applying it yourself for that off-balance bonus. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start the parse here in 3, 2, and 1. There you have it, 27.7k. Not one of my better parses, but still a respectable parse nonetheless. Going over our combat metrics here. Not much to see in terms of buffs. There's not many buffs to keep track of on a Netch's Touch build. See here, light attack weaving is about 13% of my DPS. That's not bad, but it's also not fantastic. I've had higher percentages. 10% of my DPS came from heavy attacks. In a realistic trial scenario, I wouldn't have the heavy attack so much to get my Magicka back. So do keep that in mind when you're doing solo parses. You're definitely going to need a heavy attack in order to get Magicka back. You're not really going to have as big of a problem when you are in a endgame content with a healer that's throwing out orbs or shards for you to use to get your resources back. Liquid Lightning and Blockade of Storms, as you can see, are your top percentages. Not terribly surprising there. Alright, so that's it for this build guide. Make sure to practice your rotations, practice your light weaving to get those parses up. And I'll see you guys in the next build video.